What's up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NeoVintage podcast. I am Jabril, and I'm with
Steve. Hope everyone's doing well.
And for you guys who have never seen the show before, we're just two guys that like to talk over the biggest stories in gaming, but we always like to start with what we've been playing. So, Steve, let me know what you've been playing.
Alright, so still slightly the same. I'm still playing Persona 5 Strikers. I'm taking my time with it. Also, there's only so much you can rush that game. Because I do listen to all the dialogue and check out the towns and stuff like that. So I don't have too much more to say, just that it's really great still. I completely recommend it for those who can get it at the moment and just want more Persona. You know, this is just, it's so great to have a continuation that isn't in a sort of spin-off, sort of dancing all night and like fighting game. So it's good that it's still there. Still playing Runner. I still don't know how to pronounce it, that I spoke of last week. Really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool game. I'm so glad I got it for as cheap as I did. I kind of wish I got it earlier to support the developers, but I'll keep my eye on them for sure. It's really just that cyberpunk feel, man. It's just, how did they nail it so right, that stuff that CD Projekt Red couldn't get? But you know, it still has its challenges, but it's not like brutal. You know, it's not top-down Dark Souls or anything like that. But the other thing, I've had something on my, not a docket, but it's sort of been a backlog that I did not want to purchase for a long time, and that's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which released last year, right before quarantine. And I had this game pre-ordered. I think I had the collector's edition pre-ordered. I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. Yeah, I usually get the collector's editions. I didn't for some reason. I don't know if it was time. I think I may have purchased a monitor instead, which, looking back at it, was a better choice. I'm not really sure what it was, but so this is the first sort of open world action RPG. The gameplay is very similar to like a Kingdom Hearts style, where you got one button does all the attacks, then you hold like L1, have a small menu to do different attacks and stuff like that, and it surprisingly translates really well. Now, there are some issues, and it's not an issue specifically with this game. It's kind of the issue with any RPG where there's like just dumb missions, you know, go collect the apples, go fishing, and weird stuff like that. But the game is surprisingly not dragged out. Like, I've only played, I want to say, 5 hours, and I'm at the Frieza saga. You know, you do the whole Raditz thing, then you do the whole Vegeta and Nappa thing. And there's a few side missions, some that are interesting, some that are not so well. But it's pretty evenly paced, where I'm not feeling like I'm just fighting a bunch of the same enemies over and over just to get to the next fight. You know, the map's actually really nice to look at, and you know, so many small Easter eggs. There's a lot of collectibles that show flashbacks to like Dragon Ball content and things like that. So it's fun. I was able to snag it for $20. So I'm really happy with that purchase. For $60, I don't know, because some of that more interesting content is DLC, obviously, like the Battle of Gods and the Resurrection of F. And they're adding a big expansion where you play as the future Trunks saga, you know, with the one-armed Gohan and stuff like that. So it's gonna be really cool now as a platform for $20. I can't complain. You know, the game's really smooth and stuff like that. So still early on. I don't know. Maybe the game just kind of nosedives after that. But we'll have to see. Also, I quickly jumped into the Crash Bandicoot 4 again because the PS5 version, or the free upgrade, even though there's a weird loophole you got to do to get it, but it's out, and the game still stands as we've preached about it before, and I remember you picked it up as well.
Yeah.
The game looks great. You know, the game always looked great. I think it always ran at 60 frames, but I think now it runs at 4K 60. So it looks slightly sharper. It's weird for a game like this that looked already so sharp and cartoony and everything like that. I don't really notice that much. But obviously, why would I not switch to the PS5 version? I want to know I'm playing the best version, whether or not I notice it or not. And I was able to somehow get my save from my original playthrough. I got all my costumes back. It's I don't know, weird stuff. The PS5 does some weird things when you start trying to do some stuff with the disc and then jumping and pulling saves out of nowhere. It's really awkward, but you know, still really like Crash. I'm kind of back into it, but it's sort of the same issue where I play 2-3 levels. I'll play 2 good levels, and then the third level will just like, I'll have like 15 deaths, and then I'm like, yeah, that's it for me today, and I'm kind of done with it. But it's a fun game. I still really like it. I'm glad that this new resurgence, now also that it's on Switch, on Xbox, and I think comes to PC in a few weeks. It's getting that second breath of life, hopefully, and hopefully it hits the charts again and the NPDs and stuff. And the last game I tried, I had not really much to do yesterday on my personal time. And after months of talking about it, I launched Watch Dogs Legion.
Stinky.
Yeah. So, man, it's weird because those first 2 hours, I was like, man, this game's good. I'm like, what's everyone talking about? You know, you got this, the guy in the suit, I don't remember his name, but not really a spoiler, he dies right off the bat. At least I think he dies. I don't know, maybe he comes back later, but he looked like a pretty straightforward shot on top of the roof. But they're talking about it's cool, the London scene, it's London somewhere I've always wanted to go. So hearing the dialogues and the terms and stuff like that, especially when you're DedSec is framed for something and you got to kind of do that repertoire. I don't understand why they didn't just that first character. Why didn't they just let you create a character? Choose a voice. Because it must work, and I've been diving into how this game works. It must work in a system where it's grabbing random voices to random faces, because they do not match under any circumstance. So I chose a guy who I'm like, oh, he kind of looks not like me, but I don't know. He was darker skin, had a beard, and had a hoodie, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. I kind of look like that. The voice was then super high pitched, like squeaky high pitched, and I'm like, oh man, okay. You gotta obviously do some missions. The gameplay is fine. It's solid. And it's more of the same stuff we've seen in Watch Dogs 1 and 2. A little bit more refined, a little bit quicker. I go to recruit my second person, and immediately I hate their outfit, so I bring them back to the hideout. I customize their outfit, and then we're good to go. In the next scene where I switch back to my first character, and there's a cutscene with both your recruits, the second recruit goes back to their default outfit. So I had put her in like a jean jacket and like pants, and in the next scene where my guy was there, whatever, the first recruit was there, she switches back to her ugly outfit with these stupid glasses, and the game just looks so dumb. I continued. Then I spent some time exploring London. Some stupid mini games. I don't know why they would make you do that soccer mini game. I don't know if you played that one where you gotta.
No.
Oh, this is a soccer mini game where you just have to hit the triggers, and it's stupid. And it's so precise and dumb. The game looks okay sometimes. I really don't like it when it rains, because it really looks like they're reflecting the whole city on the rain that's on the street, even though there's not that much rain.
It's that ray tracing, man.
Yeah, but it's done wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Where Spider-Man shows the right way to do it on like glass and stuff like that, and I've seen in other stuff. The ray tracing on this game is just straight wrong. You literally just mirrored the effect, and that's not what ray tracing is supposed to be. So it just looks dumb. It looks weird. It looks like I could turn my TV upside down and I would still be playing the same thing. So it's really just weird things like that. And it's just the game, as I play it, there'll be these cool spikes of fun and then immediately disastrous garbage. You'll get to a location following a collectible and you don't have a spider robot, so now you gotta go sit there scanning people until you find a guy who has a spider robot, and then that's pretty much it. Then the rest of the game you're literally just pushing left bumper and then Y, left bumper Y, left bumper Y, and it's awkward. I'm playing it because I kind of want to get my full depth. I want to give it a good amount of time before I can be like, this is a really big trash. And I understand why a lot of people were tearing it apart. I also see why some people reviewed it well. Like, I understand why you gave it your stinker award, but I can see why some places gave it like 6 and 7s out of 10. It's because it's just there. It's super middle of the road for me right now. I can't say I can't recommend this game at all, but it's just kind of there. It's like in the middle. I haven't been able to push it up where I'm like, this is fun. But I haven't also been able to push it down where I'm like, this is trash. Now, I haven't had to, most people's knowledge. Did not play this at launch. You played it at launch. So most of those bugs have been fixed.
The saving issue. Yeah.
The saving issue has been fixed. The day I go to launch this, well, I don't know how much longer I'll play it, but if I were to go launch it later this afternoon and my save was gone, I would delete it off my console and that's it.
Exactly what I did.
I'd be over with that. I'd be like, well, there's nothing for me. I'd rather literally go play that. I think the concept that's killing the game most is the play as anybody you want sort of situation. I think it would have been cooler to have a smaller choice of recruits with a little personality, a little bit more personality. The fact that you're getting these random nobodies who have these weird voices. I got the construction worker, and I sent you a video on Snapchat that her voice was so deep. It's not the voice acting specifically, but it's the fact that it sounds like they have a few voice actors, and some people have been able to dissect the files to prove this. and it's one voice actor, and all they did was put it through filters to give it the scene that it's a different voice. And I picked that up immediately, and I'm not a big audio guy, and I picked that up immediately. I was like, that's just a voice actor that they put a filter through just to butcher it. But man, I don't know what's with this game. I don't know what it wants me to do. I don't know why it wouldn't let me create one character and have a few people to recruit. To recruit people, they want you to do stupid missions for them. I'll go clear my bank account. I just have to. You do all this stuff just so you can get them to do some things. And then there's some peaks where it's like, cool, I can hack this drone and climb on the drone and sort of fly over the city. It's like good ideas that they just could not put together. And I definitely hope this is the last of Watch Dogs. I tried to jump onto that online mode. It didn't even work. Apparently it's out. Didn't even work for me. But I do kind of... as sad as I am to say, just this slow sort of hacking thing that Ubisoft really wants us to have, it's not going to work. If you didn't do it in 1 for sure. 2, you got slightly closer. And then for 3, you really just kind of lost what people enjoyed a little bit of 1 and 2. So... it's I don't know if I'll have much more to say. I don't know how much more I will play this. I have so many other better games to play. So when I launch it, there is a sort of sigh where I'm like, all right, let me go play Watch Dogs. But we'll see how that goes. So that's all I've been playing. Just tapping into a little bit of that backlog before these big guys come out in May. So just trying to clear out some of the backlog, and not even clear out, but at least give them a shot. And then I can put them on my shelf away forever. Because trust me, I don't see myself playing Watch Dogs after March. Absolutely
no
not.
platinum.
No, and I'm playing it on Xbox anyway, so I don't care for achievements. But yeah, so that's all I've been playing. Jabro, what have you been playing? What's going on?
Yeah, so I don't know why, but I got like the random hankering to just like dust off my 3DS, and so I took that bad boy out, and I've been basically playing mostly 3DS and DS games. So I started out, I went back to Persona Q, and not went back, but like I did restart that because, like, again, I didn't remember what was going on the last time I played it because I haven't played it in years. This is the first Q game, not the second one. And so yeah, I gave that a shot. Not too deep in there, so I don't have too much to report. So far, I'm enjoying it though. It's that kind of Etrian Odyssey gameplay I still need to get a little acclimated to. That kind of first person dungeon crawling thing is just, it's not something that I'm super comfortable or familiar with, so that's a little bit of a learning curve there. So I had a good time with that. I actually went back to Samus Returns, which was the late Metroid game that came out on 3DS. A lot of people don't remember that, but it's like a remake of 2. It was amazing when it came out. It was just unfortunate timing, I think. It came out in 2017, the same year the Switch came out, if I'm not mistaken. And so a lot of people were just so focused on what was going on in the Switch ecosystem and moving on to there that not too many people were showing too much love to the 3DS at that time, but they did a phenomenal job with that. And so I played a little bit of that, and it just controls so good, and the UI is amazing, and it's just a really, really solid Metroid game that I feel like unfortunately got really overlooked. And I really hope they find a way to like bring that over to Switch to some capacity. It does have a lot of the touch mechanics that you would see in like any of the other Metroid Prime games. For DS, like Metroid Prime Hunters and stuff like that, same touch integration, obviously different gameplay style, but it could easily be taken out and swapped onto button prompts, no problem. So I would love to see that be able to come over as well. I went back to Elite Beat Agents for some reason. Yeah, I fired up that. I fired up Rhythm Heaven, Spectrobe. So I've been like just going through all my DS games that I have, just to re-experience that ecosystem again, because it's just, I had such a great time there, and I haven't touched it in so long. So that's mostly what I've been doing. I don't have a ton else to report. Maybe I'll have some more information on Persona Q by next week. But for now, yeah, it's just a whole bunch of DS stuff. I don't know what prompted me to go back there. I'm just busting out Field of Magic, and I'm like, what am I doing? But it's so fun though.
No, yeah, that's funny that you bring that up, because I kind of forgot. I kind of did the same thing where I meant to grab my Vita, and for some reason I was like, let me get my DS. And I was playing, and I guess it was sort of in preparation for our loose topics. I knew what was coming, or let's talk about it. So I was playing Sonic Rush and Rush Adventure, the two Sonic DS
the first
games.
one? Oh, okay.
I played both. And a little bit of Colors on DS as well, because it's kind of the same style. And I was just having vibes. I started humming the music, and I knew it. And watching them run from the top screen to the bottom of the screen, I'm just like, oh, man. it brought me back to those high school days of coming home, putting my DS there, hooking up my headphones, and then that was it for the afternoon. Was playing the same level. So I've been I've been giving the DS a little love, just because there are some games on there that's just been missing. I also I took out my Pokemon Platinum, and I haven't played it yet, but it's there. It's there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but
yeah. So you before I forget, you did mention the Sonic Colors on DS. I've only played that on Wii. Is it that different?
Yeah. It's basically it plays like Sonic Rush 3.
So side scroller, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all side scrollers, screen, the top and bottom, and it has the color integration. Obviously not as much as the 3D aspect of it, but the story's the same. It's like kind of comic book style, obviously for the cutscenes and stuff. But yeah, if you enjoyed the Sonic Rush gameplay, then it's just that gameplay brought over to the DS.
Okay, because I only have the first Sonic Rush. I've never played Sonic Rush Adventure, so
Oh no, yeah, it's actually it's fun. It's more.
Is it just more story heavy, or?
It's slightly more story heavy. It plays a little bit more into the time loop, if I remember, with Blaze. Because at some point they put Blaze coming from Silver's timeline for the whole Sonic 06 situation, and I think it played off of that, if I remembered. My playthrough a couple days ago, I did not read the story. I just skipped all that and just wanted to run around. But from my understanding, from my remembrance, it's that Blaze now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's everything I've played. I'll probably have more to report next week because I don't see myself leaving that ecosystem for right now because I still have so many games I haven't touched, like Professor Layton and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going back to all these games.
That's cool. I'm interested here. It's funny that we both did it around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the stories. We have just two really interesting ones, and one is one that we've been following for a while, and that's the Bethesda Microsoft deal. It's finally been finalized. We saw the announcement. We saw that the Yugi had to sort of approve it and all that kind of stuff. It's finally happened, and we've got some it's weird. We've got answers, but they're still not answering the questions we have. So Microsoft's $7.5 billion acquisition. That's just so much.
It's nuts.
$7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax Media, the parent company of developers like Bethesda, Arcane, id Software, and more, has been finalized. To celebrate, more Bethesda games will be added to Xbox Game Pass this week. It's also been confirmed that some new Bethesda games will be exclusive to Xbox and PC. So Phil Spencer did make one major point clear, clearing up with some of the speculation around whether Bethesda games would be exclusives on Xbox. His quote, "With the addition of the Bethesda creative teams, gamers should know that Xbox consoles, PC, and Game Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games, including some titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players." Spencer reiterated that Microsoft would allow Bethesda to continue making games the way it always has. So that's kind of been the big question. Is Bethesda going to be an exclusive? Well, ZeniMax going to be an exclusive studio. And some other information came out where they said they were going to honor, contracts that are already there, obviously coming to other things like that. Once those contracts are up, if we'll see those games ported, because I think there's two, right, that are coming to PS5 that are exclusive from ZeniMax.
Yeah.
Which is Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, I believe, are the two that will probably make their way over once it's there. I don't know. Actually, we can't, I guess, justify that just yet. So as mentioned, those games, as of you guys hearing this, the Bethesda games got a pretty big dump onto Game Pass. We have the two Dishonored games, Doom 2, Doom 64, Doom 3, Doom Eternal, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Prey, Rage 2, Elder Scrolls 3, 4, 5 online, The Evil Within, just the first one for some reason, and then Wolfenstein, The New Order, The Old Blood, and Young Blood are all on Game Pass right now. So, Jabril, let me know what you're thinking of this. Bethesda has finally been fully absorbed into Microsoft. We kind of knew this was coming. Obviously, they announced this way too early. They announced it pretty much all the graphics and things we've seen like that. We knew this was happening because that was a lot of information. What a way. Imagine if in a world this didn't go through and they had to take all that information back. It would have been weird.
Yeah, so, it's very interesting and very exciting for the Xbox ecosystem to see this happen. I mean, to start off with the new titles to Game Pass, good titles there. A lot of them in some form have already like kind of been there. Rage 2 I played already on there. I've been playing Skyrim, ESO, and the Wolfensteins and stuff like that. But they've kind of filled in some of the gaps with like the old Doom games and stuff like that. So, and 76 being, I think, properly added to Game Pass is kind of new too. So there's some good additions there, and I'm excited for all the people who are going to be able to finally try out these games and see how much awesome things the Bethesda ecosystem has to offer. The one thing I just can say pretty concretely is I'm happy for the Xbox, family of consoles, but I'm so annoyed with their messaging because I just am so tired of the caginess from Phil Spencer. And again, I love Phil Spencer; he's awesome, but the caginess surrounding is this exclusive or not drives me nuts because they have this timed exclusives and first on Xbox and best on Xbox, and this is the best place to play these things, and we want everybody to have access to it. And it's just a tricky situation that only Xbox has because I don't think Sony has any qualms about specifically saying this is a PlayStation exclusive, period. And if it's a timed exclusive, they give you the timeline. Like, they don't have to play that KG game because they don't necessarily have to put marketing spin on exclusivity because they don't have a hard time getting it. Xbox is in a little bit of a different position. Now, some people like to argue they can't get exclusives because they don't have those relationships. Some people argue no, they just don't want to. Whatever that may be, they obviously have a different strategy to how they want to draw people into their ecosystem. They want to do it through, having all the same software, but maybe a better price proposition. You can upgrade to the next console whenever you want. If you want to play on your old console, everything plays the same games at different SKUs, and you could play wherever you want, whenever you want. And I think that's an awesome thing. But yeah, they need to get a lot better about just explaining what's an exclusive because they've released a proper statement about what the future of Bethesda exclusives is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I somehow still felt like we walked away with not a full picture of how that's going to look. Because they're talking about like wherever Game Pass is available. So obviously that's an Xbox, that's a PC thing. So to some degree, yes, there are going to be Bethesda exclusives, but what that is, we don't know. And we don't know the scale of that because it can be super small, tiny, whatever new IP things that come out of the Bethesda ecosystem because Bethesda is big. It's an umbrella for many different teams. So the experiences you can get from there range in size. But what does that say for the big boys? Like, everybody wants to know about Starfield. Everybody wants to know about Elder Scrolls 6. So those are like the questions that obviously a lot of people on the PlayStation side are like crapping themselves. And it's like, are we really going to lose access to these bigger titles? As of right now, there's not necessarily any data to suggest that. They're honoring everything. I would say for the most part, if the title has been announced and they've shown things out, it's probably coming everywhere. Most likely, I would imagine things going forward is where things are going to get kind of parsed around. But I just wish they had more clear messaging as to what Bethesda is going to do. Or put it completely in their hands. Phil Spencer could just kind of sit back and be like, exclusivity, we're letting Bethesda make that choice. And we're going to push hard to have exclusives on our end. But ultimately, it's their decision one way or another. And I could appreciate, that kind of like, hey, not 100% my call. We love the exclusive thing, but if Bethesda don't want to play that game, we respect their wishes to do that because we, are acquiring a big team that had all these relationships with other people. I would prefer it that way than them being like, well, you're gonna get some things, you're not gonna get other things. We'll see, and we're not interested in doing exclusives, but they're gonna be exclusives, but at the same time, there won't be exclusives, and it's like, what are you talking about, man? That's the only thing is I'm just kind of annoyed with the messaging because again, like I like Phil, I like Xbox, I want to get more use out of my Xbox. To be honest with you, I just don't. Mm-hmm. It's essentially been my avatar on Blu-ray machine for the past few weeks because besides me playing some stuff on Game Pass, like there's just no major Xbox offerings, so it's like. It just kind of is what it is. Everything it offers on there, I've played in some capacity. Mm-hmm. I've played all the Halos. I've played the Gears. I've played the hell out of Forza. I've gone through Dirt at this point, and you can only play so many 360 games. I was running through the Assassin's Creeds and GTA 4. Eventually, it's like, I have a 360. If I want to keep playing 360, I want to play Xbox Series X games.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, it's just. I feel like the Xbox ecosystem in general needs to work on their messaging and needs to have a more clear direction in terms of where they're going. And I feel like this deal, as amazing as it is, has kind of just increased the level of ambiguity going around in their messaging, unfortunately. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Happy for the acquisition. Excited to see what amounts of it. I'm not mad at it at all. We're kind of having the added benefit of having all the consoles, so we don't have to worry too much about losing access to anything. I'm super sympathetic to those who are in the PlayStation ecosystem, who are massive Bethesda fans that are like, oh god, and I 100% understand that. But for us, luckily, that's not something we have to worry about so much. So I'm curious to see what it is. But as of right now, I don't think anybody should be too afraid about losing anything major, because I think, luckily, Xbox just doesn't seem that inclined to ensure that PlayStation gamers don't have access to certain IP they own. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, very similar. The way I think about it is just, I would have preferred them to come out saying, hey, some titles were already in development for PlayStation, so they're going to continue. You know, they don't want to say PlayStation, but, you know, some titles were already in development for other systems, other consoles, and we have to honor those contracts. Moving forward from a certain point, they will be exclusive. I don't know why they didn't just say that. Why? I think they may just not know, because as much as Elder Scrolls 6 has been announced, it was never announced with any consoles. People assumed it would be coming to both, but you know, this is before the acquisition. So, I mean, would it be the biggest thing? I mean, it would be huge news if this was exclusive. I don't think it will be, because that game is obviously well into development. Maybe, I don't know.
Definitely. But, who knows? It would be big.
But that'd be a big thing. I just don't see why they don't say that. It's like, hey, I think they don't know specifically, but they're like, hey, some games we have contracts to still make that we published over there. You think they'd be a little bit more open to mention that, since, I mean, we literally just got a first-party Sony game on Xbox with MLB.
Yeah.
So they've crossed one way. And it's not the first time we would get an Xbox Splash logo. I mean, I don't have Minecraft on PlayStation console, but go launch it. What happened? What do you get? You get the Xbox Game Studio sort of thing. So it's just weird that they're just kind of afraid to say that. Just being like, hey, moving forward, the games will or they can even say eventually they will be exclusive, but it's going to be a sort of case by case, contract by contract thing right now. I don't know why they're just so afraid of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's that good guy Xbox thing that Phil Spencer has been trying to do since he kind of took control, because the Don Matrick years, Xbox looks such like the bad guys, and maybe he just feels like exclusive. The way they talk about it in Xbox, they kind of treat it like the boogeyman, like it's like a stigmatized word, which is hilarious because, again, PlayStation literally seems to feel the complete opposite. But yeah, just with Xbox being in kind of that minority position of just less people having Xboxes, I just seriously doubt that they would make the business decision to basically cut their sales in half for a major Bethesda title just because of business sense on the Xbox side. I don't see that happening. I don't think Bethesda lets that happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you also have to make this money back. That's $7.5 billion you're gonna make back.
Yeah, that's a stack.
On the brighter side for us, since we do have both consoles and both have Game Pass, Bethesda's games are known to be super buggy and broken at launch. We don't ever have to pay for one again.
That's true. So I can my horse doesn't have to fly into the air.
Yeah, I won't have to drop 70. You know, these cars are gonna be $70 now. I don't have to drive $70 to play a glitchy, mess.
Yeah, it's hilarious because I literally just fired up last week or so the Skyrim upgraded version on the Series X, and I'm literally at the very beginning where they're gonna behead you, and this is the beginning of the game. This is less than 5 minutes into the game, and one of the NPCs gets stuck on the cart, just like when people start walking out, he starts just bugging out, and then a guy starts walking towards him and clips another character, and I'm like, there's no way I didn't make it off the cart to get beheaded before the dragon attacks, and already there's bugs. I'm like, Skyrim, this is a decade old, 10 years old?
A decade old.
It's so crazy. And again, I love that game. That game is awesome. But I just cannot believe that they haven't been able to. I swear, it must be that engine. I don't know. I'm not a game developer, but I'm just like, what the hell is going on there? It's a wonder that they got so much leeway as they did, and I feel like the standards that people let them get away with a lot for a long time. Not to go on a whole tangent about Bethesda Game Studios, surely doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And I think they need to get that polished up, because there's no way, after we've seen stuff like The Witcher and Shadow of Mordor, that they can come with some fantasy game that's just bugged the hell out. Especially not after the Cyberpunk. We're all bugged out right now with Cyberpunk. So
yeah.
So I guess we can move on to the second and last story. Avengers, we got some updates related to that game. So Crystal Dynamics has clarified how XP progression will change in the Marvel's Avengers. There was a whole little controversy online about them making it more grindy, basically. Accepting that it had caused confusion in its first announcement of the move. On Reddit, the official developer account for the game wrote, "We did not change XP increase grind for grind's sake. Our initial blog was not comprehensive enough to convey what we're doing and why we caused we caused confusion. We get it." In this clarification, developer explains that the progression curve will now mean that players level up faster than before at low levels and take longer than before at high levels. It estimates that later levels will take 2 to 4 missions for each level, rather than once or more per mission, as can happen in the current versions. More powerful enemies will also offer additional XP, further incentivizing fighting them. So, in all, Crystal Dynamics expect that reaching maximum level with heroes will take about 3 to 5 hours longer than before the changes, which does sound like an increase in grind, but whatever. Maybe it's not as grindy as people were afraid to. I figured this was an interesting opportunity to talk about not only Avengers, because we did do a whole cast, I think, about that.
Yep.
But we can talk about what that means for the ecosystem now. It's been a number of months, and I mean, you've heard very little about this game since it's come out. You know, every once in a while they'll talk about it with the DLC. I think they added Hawkeye and stuff like that. But yeah, I have not returned to this game in any capacity since I beat it. Didn't love it too much to begin with, and so when I heard this story, I thought it was very, very interesting, because I felt like grind and level progression was the least of this game's problems, and I found it grindy enough as is. I didn't find it so grindy that I'm like, I can't play this game, but it was enough that I didn't feel like I was running through and leveling up so fast. So for them to slow that process down was a strange decision, and made me wonder, like, was there any demand for them to do this? I'm not enough in that ecosystem to say definitively, but yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. It was just confusion as to why they even made this choice to begin with. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so me and Avengers have this sort of hate relationship. I'm not even going to say a love-hate relationship. Despite the word... dancing around the words, all they're doing, they really are just making grind for grind's sake. There's no reason. I don't think anyone complained. Everyone complained that the grinding was too much already, not that it was too fast. So that's not what they hated. Grinding for no content is the issue. So to, I guess, avoid that aspect of it, they're gonna make you grind out even longer. I don't want to play some of these characters for 3 to 5 more hours to max level them. So it's kind of weird. This game in general has been, I've been not waiting necessarily, but I was like, I'll jump back into it when the next gen version comes out, which is this month, I believe. It lines up with the Hawkeye DLC. All the DLC's been shifted, delayed. Spider-Man was supposed to be this month, and that's not. They have not even mentioned.
He's still not in the game?
They have not mentioned it. So I launched this game a while back, actually. I streamed it for, and the game is there. It's just the same. That's the thing, is nothing was added. They did add Kate Bishop, I guess female Hawkeye, and there are some new cutscenes and some story deal, like free DLC from my understanding. I don't think I bought a season pass or anything, but it was free DLC there. But everything's the same. The enemies are the same. The grind is the same, and so you're doing the same thing just to get a little flashy cutscene with Kate shooting some arrows everywhere. But it's not that exciting, because you're going to the same locations. You're going to the same thing. It's not like you were somewhere new with a new character. So it's just weird that the stuff that we want more content, we want more unique outfits, because, the outfits really are, here's like one outfit and here's 4 color variations. So there's really, for each character, like 4 outfits with like 5 color variations. That's it, and that was a big thing that we were pointing out one time. And that's the issue. There's just no reason to do this. The game still has its bugs. The game still takes a long time on loading, and I haven't been playing the next gen version yet because it's not out. But I played it, PS4 version on my PS5, and it did not increase load times. I saw a lot of people talking about that. It fixed a few little blurry scenes and stuff like that, but it's just like they're not fixing and supporting what the game should have been supported with content, better mission structure. The game's just bloated, and all hope for me of wanting to continue to play this game, especially revamping with the next gen patch and stuff. The fact that they're going to change it, that now you have to just grind even more, makes me really not want to play this. Makes me really be like, well, I don't have the time at the end of March or whenever the patch comes out to start grinding for 10, 11 hours to get my characters to max level so I can get a blue Iron Man outfit. Not even a fancy one. Not, it's wild because this is Crystal Dynamics and Square. And there's a lot of artists in Square who like work with toy companies that do renderings of Iron Man and Spider-Man in a different Japanese sort of anime style. Why weren't those put in here? Why is it the same default stuff? Why are all the Thor outfits the same? Why is Iron Man literally just the same Iron Man with different, like, don't be afraid to pull from the comics and stuff. Stop just going with color swaps. It's just weird. It's just, the game is, I can't wait to stop hearing about this game. It's currently it is like a Cyberpunk for me right now, where Cyberpunk is kind of done. And I'm hoping I don't hear too much about it. I want Avengers to kind of go away. I was hoping the Spider-Man and all these constant character updates and stuff would be that kind of coming back to the pot type deal, and it's not. It's they're not giving us a reason to play this game, and now you're making it harder to play the game. The one thing no one wanted fixed, if anything, we wanted it less grindy, not more. Yeah. I wanted to level up faster, not even slower. So, I don't know. I think Avengers just literally dropped another point in my book for this.
Yeah, it's strange. I just always have felt that this game is off. There's something about it. Sure, there's like specific things you could critique about it, but there's just some intangibles related to this that I look at this game and I'm like, there's just something off about it. I don't know what the deal is with it, and I don't know if it's something that could be fixed in a patch or anything like that. It's just the whole thing. I feel like from the beginning, the ground up is just like, I don't know. Yeah, not for me. Best of luck to those who are still playing it. I know there are people who still very much play this game. Why? I have no clue. There are so much better, superhero games out there than this. But, have fun with that. I wish for the best. But, just what a strange journey for a game that by all metrics should have just absolutely demolished. It's a Marvel Avengers game post-Endgame. Like, come on. It should have been just massive. And, I don't know. I feel like they really dropped the ball with this one in such a weird way. The characters look weird. The gameplay loop is not that interesting. The story's not too bad. I ain't too mad at that. But, yeah, not for me. So, I guess we can transition into our loose topic. And there's another let's talk about it, subject. And this week we're going to do Sonic. Now, I'm going to do a quick little intro, but I'm going to have to give you the reins on this one because I know if anybody's a super fan here, it's you. Yeah. And so I'm not going to take too much time to set it up. But yeah, this week we're going to talk about one of probably the more divisive franchises that exist out there, Sonic. And it's incredible to kind of understand what Sonic was when it came out, that it was very much a solid Mario competitor. To where it is now, which in many ways has been memed, but at the same time releases games that release to a beloved fan base who really, really not only love the games, but the whole world and universe that they've created. And what Sonic means, it varies entirely from person to person, and when their entry point was and what their favorite games are. And at this point, there's 3D Sonic games, there's 2D Sonic games, there's the classic style. So it's just such an interesting franchise that even I have had kind of a love-hate relationship with. So I'm going to pass the reins over to you, Steve. Tell me about some of your overall thoughts on Sonic and kind of what your entry point is, and then we can go from there as a launching pad to like our favorite games and stuff like that.
All right, so Sonic, obviously, the original Sonic, we know, 1991 video game. Created sort of for the relaunch of the Sega Genesis. They took a huge chance by actually bundling it with that. But he was created and influenced by Mario. There's a reason. Mario's red. They made Sonic blue. They did all these small things for a reason. Mario's slow paced and and compact levels where Sonic has longer levels but runs at a faster pace and stuff like that. So he was really created, and they've mentioned this and then they kind of taken it back, for the the years that it's gone on. That he is always the rival. He was the anti Mario. There was the competition they wanted to create, and it worked. I see videos. Obviously, I was not alive in 1991. I wasn't around for 2 more years. But I see the videos when they used to put this up in, Best Buys and all these, not Best Buy, I don't know if they were around, but, all these entertainment stores back then, and they would literally set up a Genesis right next to the Nintendo, and people would be like, look at the colors, look at all that was going on, the music, the style. Sonic was always supposed to be that sort of cooler, faster, where Mario was like slow pace, I gotta save the princess. Sonic's like, that fast paced cool guy, and that's what it really was supposed to be. And as a huge fan, I've always said that it succeeded, especially for the original Sonic trilogy, including Sonic and Knuckles. Obviously, that game needed to be split and stuff like that. And I think that's where Sonic shines, are the trilogy, and I include Sonic and Knuckles as part of 3. So the trilogy plus that DLC, I guess. And that's where Sonic shined, and that's where Sonic was at its purest. And at its best. I mean, I don't think anyone can say, from the soundtracks to the level designs to the boss designs to enemy designs, they were just cooler enemy designs where they wanted to take different chances with enemies and boss battles. Where Mario, I mean, how many times have you stomped a Goomba? You've stomped a million Goombas in your life, a million Koopas. The first Mario level is always the same, and Sonic mirrors that a little bit other times, but the first stage of Sonic 1 is not the same as Sonic 3. It's a wholly different feel. So it's like it's always been that game where it was able to stick to its roots. Where Mario changed from Mario to Mario 2, well, our Mario 2, which was a different game, then Mario 3. Like, they've been so different, where Sonic felt like a trilogy. Where you go play Mario 1, 2, 3 back to back, and there's no consistency throughout them. And it was great for Sega. Unfortunately, Sega does have just weird decisions, and Sonic Team has weird decisions, where 3D technology started coming in, and they tried to do that. We had Sonic 3D Blast, which was a super slow-paced, open map explorer, and you took away what people liked about Sonic. I guess some people thought that it was overplayed. At that time we had 4 Sonic games and stuff like that, so it's weird. They started just taking these chances with Sonic. They put him in a cart. Why? Why, when you have a super fast hedgehog, you put him in a super slow cart? And obviously, it's all responsive. And I think that's always been the issue, is that they kept using Sonic to respond to Mario. We had Mario Kart, and they're like, well, let's put Sonic in a cart. And he did have successful kart games way later. But when they stopped trying to copy, when they try not to copy Mario, is when I think they succeed. With the original titles, they try to surpass Mario, and 2 different games, I don't think they surpassed Mario, but I think they really stood on their own, where they couldn't really even compare them, where one was a slow platformer and one was a fast-paced score run almost, in a sense. So that's always been the thing. But where Mario had a nice transition to 3D, they took the time to kind of understand what people wanted in Mario, and again, that slow pace is really what helps it. Sonic's always about the speed. That's when you start getting into this weird realm with Sonic games specifically. You got Adventure, which some people really like, some people really hate, and then later on, literally after the Adventures, is really where the game started to suck. Some of these really suck. I could talk for hours about Sonic 06, but we all know that it was really probably pretty much the worst rated Sonic game ever. Due to so many issues, between technical to story aspect to everything. So we know we know that game is terrible. But you had Sonic Heroes, which we played, actually. I think it's one of the first games we played on our channel here, which was okay, but it also introduced the issue, which was the millions of extra characters and trying to make Sonic into this lore that really didn't need it. So it's hard to compact so many thoughts into this little time that we have, but it's weird. It's when they lose sight of what Sonic was, and when they try to recreate what Mario did, that's when you get the bad Sonic games. That's when you get these terrible Sonic games, and it's unfortunate. And we've had Sonic, I mean, no pun intended, spike up and down a little bit, where we'll get some really good games, and then we get some terrible games where it's where it got to the point where everyone was just memeing him. And the fact is that instead of taking respect for their character, Sega leaned in with the meme. They knew people, and it's one thing to admit your mistakes, and it's one thing to stand by and be like, yeah, listen, we understand this game is terrible. But to constantly berate us with it, to constantly push and lean on it and not have respect for it, I mean, in Sonic Forces, they literally had the Sonic shirt. I mean, and it's weird. You guys make weird decisions to push for and lean onto instead of trying to come back a little bit. Sonic Mania was really good. It was a really good game, and you had people who grew up on the original Sonic games make that. So I think that's where you need to do is stop competing. Stop giving us a Shadow the Hedgehog game with tons of weapons and guns and multiple timelines and storylines, and that's just, we don't need that. It doesn't have to be Dragon Ball. And a lot of stuff, they also took a lot of inspirations from that for Sonic, and it just doesn't need all that. There's no reason for it to be all that. So as much as I would like it to go on a sort of uprise from here, I think it's kind of going to just keep bouncing around until eventually they stop making it. There's a while that they stopped making it. It's been a while now, actually, since we've gotten a Sonic game. Their 2020 game was moved to 2021, and it's actually never been officially announced. So Sonic's kind of in a limbo right now where I don't know if they know what to do with him. So that is, I guess, a quick overview of the Sonic franchise, where you start off so strong and then you stumble all over the place, and then you have a few small gems that are like, oh, this is a really good game, or at least a really cool concept. And there's things that they've done with Sonic that you can never do with Mario, but it works for Sonic for a reason, but it also hinders him in a way, because they're just too loose with the concept of him.
Yeah, and I mean, you raised a lot of great points, and it's one of those things where I felt like they nailed it so well for that initial trilogy, especially for that time. I mean, as far as like a 16-bit era trilogy, especially on Genesis goes, I mean, you can't get much better than that. I mean, they nailed it, every single one. And I just feel like in many ways they were just screwed from the beginning because of its attachment to Sega. And when Sonic was doing good, so was Sega. Sega was right on the Super Nintendo's heels, right there as that kind of number one, number two, bouncing back and forth about who's going to win that console generation. And Sega was doing really, really well. And all the subsequent bad decisions that led to Sega's instability and inevitable fall during that, post Dreamcast era where they kind of integrated into Nintendo, I felt like in many ways Sonic suffered from that as well. That instability, I felt like, kind of bled into Sonic Team and whatever was going on over there too. And so the moment that Sega lost that hold, right after that original trilogy, that's when the shakiness. So I don't necessarily say that there's causation, but there's certainly correlation between what was going on at Sega and what inevitably ended up happening to Sonic. You know what I mean? So I guess we could talk about our favorite Sonic games. Now, there are a great number to choose from, and it's almost a little bit tricky because there's different types of Sonic games at this point. It's kind of like, what's your favorite Mario game? And it's like, well, 3D or 2D, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and then exactly. Sega, and Sonic's the same way. So I wouldn't mind if you chose two, but I would love to hear your thoughts. What's your, when somebody's like, hey, favorite Sonic game, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, so I go to Sonic 2, Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, for 2D, I'll split up for 2D. For 2D, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 nails it, and 3 is usually my answer a while, but I did just replay these recently, and 3 without Sonic and Knuckles, like if those were completed the way they wanted to be, like those were supposed to be one game, that was all supposed to be one content, then hands down that would be. But as a full package, I think 2 has the right amount of just replayability, the quickness of it, where 3 is adding a little bit more exploring and trying to get the chaos emeralds and the zones and all that kind of stuff, and so it's a little bit more complicated. Now when you add the Knuckles gameplay and all that kind of stuff, then you have the right amount of content and different ways to play. Where Sonic 2 sticks to its roots, even if you decide to play for some reason just Tails or just Sonic, or you have the option to play either of them alone or just together, and it works out that way. So I just think the music is so iconic. They add the spin dash and which wasn't in the original game, and it just gave it that extra bump where it felt like they took the gameplay, revolutionized. And back then, most games when they would get a sequel would drastically change. Zelda to Zelda 2, Mario to our Mario 2 was completely a different game. So the fact that they stuck by their guns and created a sequel that had enough, I think, remnants of the first one, but also revolutionized the gameplay just a little bit. They didn't add a lot of gimmicks that they felt they needed, because they didn't, because it did what it needed to do properly. So for 2D, that's my go-to.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's a little tricky. So I'm a music guy, so I think 3 has a little bit of a leg up for that. That Michael Jackson soundtrack is just different, and just even if the level design is probably not my favorite in the world, the combination of just the different worlds that Sonic 3 has specifically, combined with that soundtrack, it's just amazing for me. So yeah, and I'm so glad I have that on cart, because again, none of the collections have it, or none of the more modern collections have it. So I'm glad that I have that and I'm able to play it on cart, having a good time with that. It's also tricky because I really, really, really like Sonic Colors on Wii. I don't play it as much because I just don't love my Wii that much. But no, I really love Sonic Colors, and I've always felt that was a perfect blend of just quality 2D gameplay with amazing level designs that really take advantage of what the hardware at that time had to offer them in terms of power and stuff like that. So I do want to give a shout out to Sonic Colors. It's like 1 and 2 for me, but it's like a very close 2. So yeah, I'm a Sonic 3 guy. Now we'd be remiss if we didn't speak about the 3D Sonic games. Now this is a little bit more of a challenging thing because the standards it's measured very differently. It's designed very differently. There's a certain nostalgia to the clunkiness, so it gets a little bit more leeway, I feel like, than we would give the 2D games, which I feel like you could just, on an objective level, measure the gameplay. They're quality experiences, so you can just measure them as they are. This one, you have to adjust the standards a little bit and not necessarily give them, give them a pass, but understand that we're not necessarily trying to compare it to Mario, like the 3D Marios, you know what I mean? That just are a different level of quality. This is a different type of game. We understand they're janky and weird, and their mouths are moving weird, but there's something charming about that. So I'm curious to know, what's your favorite 3D Sonic game?
Well, I mean, I have to give it to both Sonic Adventure games. I include them in one package just because it's hard. It's really hard. We've discussed this constantly because you and I pretty much play these two games at least once a year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Roughly. The two Sonic Adventure games, I think, is some of the better 3D Sonic content. It's hard because there's some stuff in the games I don't like. Obviously, when they started...
Unleashed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When they started to expand the character roster, I think is where they ran into an issue. I think Sonic Adventure took a chance with changing the gameplay up. The open map necessarily didn't make a lot of sense, and obviously I don't think we did see it come back in other senses, but a little bit more mainstreamed, where less puzzle nonsense with carrying trophies to certain places to open waterfalls and things like that. But, it took its own identity, where Sonic Mario kind of did its own thing. Sonic stuck to its sort of fast-paced gameplay with the light platforming, but doubled down on the sort of cool aspect. And I keep using that word for this because that's what I was. When I was smaller, younger, that's what I identified with. It was like, this is just a cooler thing. Those soundtracks, as iconic as Mario tracks are, I still listen to, like on Spotify, I have a Sonic playlist, which is all the Sonic vocal tracks from Adventure 2, and so on and so forth. So those two are the 3D games I hold the highest. I do enjoy a lot of the 3D games, not all of them. Sonic Heroes I really don't enjoy that much, due to the fact that the repetitiveness of it and the sort of stop and go gameplay of it is what kind of kills me on that one. But obviously, and it's kind of cheating. I'd have to give Sonic Adventure my favorite 3D Sonic games. I also have to mention Sonic Generations, which I guess it's cheating because half of it is 2D, half of it is 3D, and obviously that's a reimagining of some of the best stages and some of the worst stages as well of Sonic. And I think that gameplay fits what it is. The sort of behind Sonic race car gameplay that started with Unleashed is really exciting to see. And it's exciting to have. I think it balances right. I think when you slow him down to a certain extent, in Unleashed he was way too fast. I think in Generations they slowed it down to a point and kind of reworked it and had a little bit more of that platforming and stuff like that. But that game, I think, his 3D aspect, if you look at the 3D aspect of that and Unleashed and stuff like that, and that's what stuck in for a while, had people excited to play Sonic games again. Colors and the two storybook games that are on Wii, even though they had their own gimmicks and weren't the best, the actual playing of them is really good. If they were to re-release the Sonic and the Secret Rings without the Wii motion controls, that would be a really solid game. It'd really be a really cool game, just because tilting the Wii remote to run is dumb. But so, that's why I always want to say Sonic Generations, but I always feel like that's a cheat of it. But I that's why I stand by Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and I always have those installed somewhere. Right now they're on my PC, but I always have them installed somewhere. No matter where they release, I always end up buying them. And even, and I include it with the DX and the battle version, obviously, that came to GameCube later. So those are slightly of a cheat, but obviously those are my standby Sonic games for the 3D realm.
Yeah, so your choice is Sonic Forces. All right, gotcha. So, God, man, nobody talks about that game. That game's wild. But, yeah, so I'm going with Sonic Adventure, the first one. Mm-hmm. And I understand a lot of that is nostalgia, certainly. It's one of those things where it's got a little bit of the Link's Awakening advantage for me, where I've played it so much and so often that it's definitely has a muscle memory for me. So I understand that, I don't have to watch the cutscenes because I understand the sequencing. I know which level to go to where, to what item at what time. It's just I've played it so many times that you can run through it almost in one sitting for the most part. At least one of the character runs. The Sonic run. And so in that regard, it definitely has a leg up. And it's one of those things that I felt like I've kind of, as I've gotten older, gravitated a little bit more to 2. I didn't grow up with 2. I experienced 2 a number of years after I experienced Sonic Adventure 1. Because my friend had 2, I had 1, and then eventually we swapped many years later, and I was able to experience 2. So I don't have as much nostalgia for it. But the funny thing is, the thing that I liked a lot about Sonic Adventure 1 when I was a kid is why I like Sonic Adventure 2. At one point, I liked 1 more because it had that open world, and when you're younger, you want that exploration, and you could just screw around and jump on the cars and do whatever. But as I got older, I kind of value the more streamlined approach that the second one has, where it's like I don't have to run around this and talk to this weird NPC guy at the newsstand. Like, I don't have to do all that crap. So that's why I probably prefer 2 a little bit more now, that you could just level to level to level, no big deal. It's not, I don't need all the nonsense in the middle. And if there's a boss cutscene, just throw me, or not cutscene, a boss battle, just throw me into there. I don't need all the drama. And obviously it has that weird cart mode too. That's weird. Yeah. So yeah, I Sonic Adventure 1, but I'm with you pretty much all the way that Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are probably my 2 favorite. The other ones, yeah, it's not for me. I respect the hell out of like half of Sonic Unleashed. I don't like the werewolf portions at all. Like, I want no parts of that. And Generations is immaculate. I just haven't played enough of it to really say definitively like this is my favorite or not. What I've played has been better probably than most Sonic games I've ever played, but I haven't beat it front to back, so I can't say definitively. So that's for me. So I guess a natural place before we move on to the future of Sonic is, what is one of your least favorite Sonic games? The one that you just cannot stand?
It would be the Wii Sonic Boom game. I don't know. There was 2 Sonic Boom games. There was Rise of Lyric and Shattered Crystal. One is the 3DS one. I think Shattered Crystal is the 3DS and Rise of Lyric.
I think there was like 2 3DS ones too.
Yeah. Yeah, they did do a second one actually. That's a good one. And those games are completely terrible. And there's a whole list of things you can see why they're so terrible and things like that. And it breaks down from the company to the tie-in with the show, which is funny because the show, for what it was, the show was fine. I'm not saying the show was good. in in any way, shape, or form. But it was this weird tie-in, the weird fact that the game just is bad. It's not just bad as a Sonic game; it's just bad as a game. It was like this sort of semi trying to be a collectathon thing. But it was just terrible. Everything was about it, from the camera system to the glitches, the controls. Like, I really would hand down rather play Sonic 06 more than this, which is terrible. And it's like one of the only Sonic games out of like some of the main Sonic games. Most of them always hit like in the millions roughly. I'm actually looking at the numbers right now. So besides
in terms of sales,
yeah, in terms of sales, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic 06, and then the Sonic 2 Sonic Boom games never even crossed a million sales.
Gotcha.
Most of the other ones hit 2.8, 1.7, 2.45. I mean, the original one hit 15 million, but that was kind of cheating because they also bundled it and stuff like that. So those are the games I cannot stand. Like, I don't own Sonic Boom, either of them. The 3DS ones I heard were a little bit better, but specifically the Wii U game was garbage. It's completely trash. I played it one time and then I was like, this is broken. I'm like, this is dumb. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible game. And that was it. That's, for hands down, that's the worst Sonic game.
Oh, I feel you. Yeah, for me, and you actually ended up mentioning it, it's one that I respect the hell out of for what they were trying to do on the console at that time, but I cannot stand the gameplay of it. It's just not for me. I find it off-putting and aesthetically very unpleasing. Sonic 3D Blast. I do have it on cart, so I've played it plenty. I'm very familiar with it. It's like from 96 or something like that, so I very much know this game, and I can't get into it. I don't like the old primitive 3D rendering thing. It's just not my thing. When they make the jump to like N64, PS1 onwards type 3D, it's a little bit more palatable. But when like the Super Nintendo and Genesis played around with it, it's just not for me. And just, yeah, I don't like the level design that much here. I don't like the way it looks. Sonic looks weird, and the way that they integrated the colors into there, I just find it hideous. And it looks like an acid trip. And I don't like that game. Though I know there are people who like swear by it and like really, really like it. It's just not my thing. So when you're reading out the sales, I'm like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I don't like 3D Blast, which is surprising because it's the same console that the original trilogy happens on, but it went a little bit different, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because this one, that was actually 96. And that one always felt to me was, and then it brings me back to like some of the, not all 2D ones are good, because before that they did Sonic Labyrinth. Which is a predecessor to pretty much, I think, 3D Blast. Let me look at the dates really quick. So 3D Blast was 96, and if I'm not wrong, Labyrinth was 95. Yeah, so 95, which was Game Gear. But it's the same sort of weird angle, kind of walking around. Sonic doesn't have speed, so that's just annoying.
It feels kind of like a tech demo, like it's an experiment for a future technology they'd eventually put out, but for some reason they published this game, and again, people like it, but it just, to me, this doesn't feel like a game. This feels like an idea that was later realized in the way they wanted to. But this feels like, you know, like when you see the footage of somebody running over an empty level to test like the physics of a world or something like this, and they're showing off footage like, look at our new engine. That's what that feels like to me. And somehow they published it, and somehow, I mean, I'm sure a couple 100,000 people bought it, so I mean, God bless them, but it's not for me. I mean, hey, I have it on cart, so I guess, I mean, I didn't buy it in the stores, but I do got a copy, so. So I guess we can finally end this topic with what we would like to see from this franchise going forward. Mine's pretty fast, so I'll get it out of the way. I think that what they did with Sonic Mania is absolutely what they should do with this future. Or the future of this franchise. I look at Sonic very similarly to the way I look at Castlevania, and the way that I think hearkening back to the previous era, its heyday, is where you'll find success. Some other people would disagree and say that reinvention, trying something new, challenging what it means to be a Sonic game might be more refreshing. I think doubling back to the 16-bit era with that original trilogy, what Mania did, was perfect. I think Sega, you know, teaming up with ex-fans who really have a lot of love for Sonic and know what it means to make a great Sonic game, and giving them the resources to do that is definitely a right move. So I would go for the Mania direction personally. I think that's what they should do. I think a Sonic Mania 2, 3, or maybe a full massive budget from Sonic Team working with the Sonic Mania team to make this kind of 3D extravagant or 3D 2D hybrid generations extravaganza celebration of Sonic would probably be the best decision. But how do you feel?
Yeah, so it's see, I feel in the same vein where they could probably do two. They obviously keep the Sonic Mania team, the guys who did that, and make another one. I don't know what they would call it, Sonic whatever, and stick to that 2D, sprite style. Hopefully, that sort of 16-bit reminiscence of that, and keep it. Keep those going. They know what they're doing. I mean, that game hit like 1 million sales and stuff like that. So it's really well for smaller team, smaller Sonic game that's actually full of content now, especially if you think of the DLC they added to it. So obviously I think 2D, that's where it needs to go. I do think they have some good in 3D. When you think of like the Sonic Generations 3D style, not the 2D Sonic, obviously that works really well too. And it's not like Sonic the Hedgehog 4, which was like a half step. So that modern Sonic gameplay, I think, works. I do think they need to slow him down a little bit. Not a lot, because you kind of take away his thing. So I do think they just need to slow him down a little bit and stop with the whole race car thing, where it's like the bar fills up, you hit X, and then you don't see the level.
Yeah.
I do think they need to simplify the story by margins, and they've done that more and more recently, where Mario doesn't have a huge plot. Usually you get some cutscene at the beginning, some in the middle, some at the end, and that's really what you need to get. Sonic Forces, the Sonic gameplay was fine, but obviously everything else was kind of bad, and it was filled with so much dumb content. Like, they're dealing with an apocalypse that came out of nowhere. It just didn't make any sense. So I think that's, for 3D, it's weird, because like, if you gave me command, I could get it done. It's the same if I knew, for some people, if you were given a franchise, like if you were given a Metroid or a Castlevania franchise, you maybe, technically, yeah, we don't know how to program and stuff, but that you knew you could kind of push them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And they have some of it, and we've seen it. Even Sonic Lost World, which was a sort of lackluster Sonic 3D game, had some good concepts. They slowed them down and stuff like that. That was too much like a response to Galaxy, I think, Mario Galaxy, and that's why it suffered.
Definitely.
But I do think it had some good concepts if they narrowed it down. That one was, I think, way too slow, in my opinion. But they have to nail it, and I think this next Sonic game there is a Sonic game confirmed. He confirmed it, I think, in South by Southwest in like 2019. So I don't know what the pandemic really did to them. I would assume 2021 probably a release date, but
probably.
It's hard to get excited until I see the gameplay,
Forces 2, man.
No, at this point, just make Generations 2 and choose some more levels and stuff like that. So I do think it exists, like the right balance exists. If you would think like every 2-3 years, because we don't need a Sonic game every year, every 2, 3, 4 years, we get a main Sonic game, and to break it up every between those games, you get a 2D Sonic game. I think that would be the right pattern for Sega.
Yeah, and you mentioned a point earlier where like they don't know what to do with Sonic, and I think that's just the biggest problem. Is for many years now, I felt like there's been a confusion as to what to do with Sonic, and straddling that line between like, we know this worked in the past, so do we keep just trying to do this, or do we try to fix something that could have worked, but we didn't do it 100%. And that's kind of what it felt like. They played with the 3D thing. They're like, all right, this is not 100%, but we could fix this. And they've just had difficulty doing that. And so it's one of those delicate things where it's like, we know how to make the 2D work. They're still, in many ways, I feel like, learning how to properly like knock the 3D thing out of the park. I love certain of the 3D games, but I feel like they still have yet to have their proper Galaxy, their Odyssey, their Mario 64. I feel like they still have yet to hit that, and it's a tricky balance that ultimately they're gonna have to make the call whether to kind of abandon that and just double down on that 16-bit era thing that they already have nailed before, so they know they can do that, or keep trying for it. But either way, I'm very intrigued because I find it to be one of the most interesting franchises in gaming, period. Because when it succeeds, it's amazing, it's great, it's fun. But when they fail, it's even more interesting to see how that happens. Because again, like I joke about Forces, but I find that to be such an interesting, strange game where you can like make these characters that you can shoot fire out of your arms. Like you're just doing all this weird stuff. And I'm like, what an interesting and peculiar direction to take this franchise that is already so interesting and peculiar. But overall, I gotta say, I got a lot of love for Sonic, and it would make me really sad if Sonic went away, because I feel like despite their very nonsensical approach to releasing new titles, they do bring something to there. And I just respect them being that Mario competitor. I mean, kind of getting their face kicked in and still swinging. And they're not really connecting. They're not hitting Mario anymore. Like Mario's gone ahead to he moved out of the neighborhood. He got himself a skyscraper in the middle of New York, and you still in the hood swinging, but he's still swinging. Then you got to respect that. You know what I mean? So that was.
Any other company would have given up and put him on ice already, but Sega
100%
still there.
I mean, the fact that literally they were tied to Sega. Sega goes under. They sign over to Nintendo, and then all these years later, look at Sonic's still going, and pretty much not. I don't think anything else from that ecosystem is still around at all. From the Sega ecosystem, everything's gone. Things have gotten re-released and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's the only one that's still living. And I mean, hey, that's worth something.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be back with another Let's Talk About It one, and that next week's is going to be very fun, very challenging. I won't spoil it for the people who are listening to the show, but I'm very excited about that one, and this is episode 47. So we'll see you guys next week with a whole bunch of brand new episodes. We got a lot of excited things planned for you. So I'm Jabril, and I'm with
Steve. Hope you guys enjoyed.
And we'll see you guys next week.